Okay. Incident number three with the police officers. This one I'm a little hesitant to talk about, um, but I'm just going to be transparent and put it out there. Uh, for a lot of, I don't know how many of you know what my actual occupation has been. I'm a fashion slash costume designer. My life has consisted of designing costumes and fashion since I can remember. It started out with illustrations and then graduated into costume design and and then later on into special effects and costume design. Did I say costume design? I meant fashion design. And graduated into costume design and special effects design and personal wardrobe and all sorts of things for film and industry, movie industry. Uh, but so my whole life has been all about clothing. Oddly enough, and I found out from other artists, uh, I prefer to be without clothing for the majority of the time. Um, I'm not a nudist, but I like the feeling of no clothing. When my wife and I first got married, it wasn't a big issue for her. She dealt with it and didn't really object to it. But once our daughter was born, uh, I just I felt that that would be inappropriate for me to work most of the time without clothing. Um, so like I said, I dealt with that, being fully clothed all the time, as opposed to being quote unquote free. Um, a few years passed after my daughter was born, and I got the urge to be free again. And I decided to. Well, I've stumbled upon some secluded places where there were no um, other. There weren't a lot of people around. In fact, there were no people around. But I figured during the daylight hours, it was more a possibility that I could be spotted, and that wasn't what I wanted to do. I just wanted to um, be somewhere or be out, preferably initially just in the car. I know there's no rules or laws against men having no shirts on, so I figured if you were actually going to see whether I had everything besides the shirt off, you would have to come all the way over to my car and look inside. So, um, like I said, with joggers and people walking, I decided that wasn't a good idea to be out in public like that. So, as I said, looking for secluded areas. Um, and then it occurred to me more likely, um, and for my safety, to perhaps do this at night, where I would be able to see an approaching car coming or whatever, even though it was in a secluded area. I'm not doing it out in the middle of the street. Um, it was it was just better that way, and I felt a little more comfortable that way. Um, Initially, as I said, it started out just being undressed in the car, um, and it graduated to me taking a few steps out of the car, and little mini strolls. I just like the feel of the air and the wind, and just all over my body. That was just me. So, getting to my encounter with the police, one night while I was doing this, um, I was on my way back to the car when suddenly lights came on. I hadn't seen the lights coming towards the car before, but now, and not too far of a distance, there were lights that were coming on. And so I got in the car and got partially dressed. And the police called out for me to get out, step out of the car. And as I said, fortunately, I was partially dressed at that time. And they asked me what was going on. And I told them nothing. And they said, "Well, what are you doing out here?" And I told them, "Well, I just come out here to clear my head and think." And you know, I was nervous as hell because I know their lights were on when I was getting back into the car. So they asked me to come and step over to the squad car, and they were calling me in. They got my ID and so forth, and they were calling me in. And my immediate reaction was just to start praying. I was praying in tongues. So it just sounded like I was babbling. And one officer asked me, "Please stop that. Just stop." And it was uncontrollable. I couldn't, the tone got lower, but I kept going. I didn't know what to think, or I think what was going through my mind was how was my wife going to react to this. So um, just at that point, there came a call over the radio that they had to respond to, and so the police officer told me, this is your lucky night, you know, um, but don't ever let me catch you out here again. Um, so I said, "You got that? No problem. This will never happen again." Unfortunately, that was a lie.